Tonight, on Countdown to Green, we recap round one of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. We talk with Corey Vincent and Taylor Hurst of Team Dillon Esports. And we take a look at how you race at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is Countdown to Green. I'm your host, Camille. Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is Talladega. We are here. I'm your host, Camille Salazar Hadaway. Joining me as always, we have Alan Cabana and Blake McCandless. How are you two doing?
I'm doing awesome. There's no better place than Talladega, whether it be in real life or here in the Coke Series. Just looking at it is beautiful because it's such a big, nice track, and the racing is going to be so much fun, Blake.
It really is, Alan. I was watching a lot of these guys in practices and even doing some racing on iRacing myself today, and I tell you what, there is just any driver that can win this race. It's anybody's guess as to who's going to go to victory lane tonight.
Awesome.
It is up to anyone. I feel like we've been really surprised throughout the series. But in order to look ahead, we got to take a look back at the last race at Bristol.
Keegan Leahy on the front row as we say, let's go night racing at Bristol. Throwing a spinner, and it's Clamp It. The 97 car is around.
Oh, contact! We have a spin back there in the middle of the pack. I couldn't tell who went around, but it was absolutely contact there. I believe it was Mitchell DeYoung that got turned around there.
Keegan Leahy's pitting now. Bobby Zielinski staying out on track. We'll see who gets the benefit of the decision here.
See how this one plays out. Pace car off and in with 71 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. And as they head off to the corner, side by side behind, and a little bit up the hill there, kind of that middle line there. He saved it once. And on the outside in 1 and 2, there goes Keister. New race leader, lap 140. Colin Keister goes to the point. Wow, that is a whole host of race cars. Again, an incident just turns into a big pileup as the racetrack gets blocked. Nice and easy. Ryan Luza to the race lead with 24 laps to go at Bristol. White flag in the air. How about Luza? Started midfield 14th in this race, but made the strategy call when it mattered the most, and he'll spoil the playoff opener. Ryan Luza wins at Bristol.
There you have it. Blake called it. Ryan Luza.
I did.
You did. You were right. This is why I'm terrified about Blake's picks. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. We got to talk about the point standings, Blake.
Well, and it's pretty simple, Camille. We did not have a playoff driver win last week at Bristol, so you can look at the standings right now. Pretty much the same as when we left them. A couple drivers moved on down. This is how it worked further down the grid, though. We've been talking every single week about relegation and staying in the top 20. You could see some drivers were able to kind of bump up their advantage. You look at Blake Reynolds, 112 points above that cut line. He can lock himself in with just a couple of points in this race tonight. And then again, Keegan Leahy, Ray Alfala, they lost some ground to that cut line. Again, two former series champions, Alan, that are on the outside looking in right now to try and stay in the series for 2023.
A lot of talent throughout the field, racing for wins, also racing for their teams. Let's look at the team standings. Stewart Haas Racing still on top, but you look between Stewart Haas Racing, Jim Beaver Esports, and Team Xset, only 36 points separate the top three. That's not much considering the 2 drivers per race in the races we have left. A lot of pride, a little money, some trophies though on the line for this team championship. That'll go down to the wire. Looking forward to that. And still have to shout out Charlotte Phoenix, rising all the way up there, up another 2 spots. Not too bad for a first-time team this year, guys.
Very fitting for the name. They're rising up. You gotta love it. Let's talk about, Bristol, because it started off a little bit messy.
Yeah, it certainly did, Camille. There was a lot of chaos and commotion at Bristol, which I guess you would expect to see, especially with these shorter races. But the one thing that really stuck out to me was how these non-playoff drivers are driving right now in this series. And a large part of it is what we looked at earlier, that you have to make up a lot of ground and try to stay in this series. With just 3 races left in the season, 20, 30 points. It's going to be an unrealistic amount of points to try and make up if you're going into Phoenix trying to get into the top 20. So I see a lot of drivers view Talladega as their opportunity to try and move on up, Alan.
Yeah, and I had a similar thought in terms of, look, there's so much talent throughout the field, not in the playoffs. Maybe it was naive. I just thought the playoff field would worry about themselves, the talent would rise, but you think about the Ryan Luzas of the world, the Keegan Leahys, Ray Alfala's former champion, still all racing for those wins. They're not backing down at all, and they have plenty to race for, so plenty of competition throughout the field. And I gotta say, it's just like the real world, right? We haven't seen in the Cup Series a playoff driver win a race yet in the playoffs. It's been the other competition. Same thing started with us here in the Coke Series with Ryan Luza.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do feel like we're hearing a lot more players, going into the playoffs. They seem more relaxed and like just taking it as is and like giving it their all. And we're seeing, like, I really don't know what to expect from the playoffs as we're in it. We saw Donovan Strauss saying that he's bringing his all for the next races to come. So I'm really curious how all the other drivers will go. Speaking of drivers, well, I would say, Alan, that these drivers are pretty professional, but we also have our college series as well, where we're seeing some of these drivers also race.
Yeah, and some familiar names. I mean, look who's winning out there at Homestead, down there in the NASCAR College Series. Steven Wilson won the Logitech 120 at Homestead. That's scholarship money. I mean, that's good stuff there. Familiar name. I'm glad he can do it on all sorts of levels, but we know how good he is at the pro level. He's down there just taking money from kids, but it's good. It's well earned and well put there for him.
It is. Yeah, Blake.
Well, it is, and if I'm Steven, I don't care if I'm racing down or anything. I just see a check, and you can see how much money that this series is giving away. And again, I remember, back when I was in college, I remember kids trying to sign up for the marching band to get $1,000, and instead, you could sign up on iRacing and get more than that right now by going out and competing against a lot of these drivers. Many of these names, too, very high up, obviously in the Coke Series and in the Road to Pro ladder to get up into this series. So a lot of great money being given out, and again, very helpful. You're college students, I'm sure, so very helpful to just have even a little bit to kind of supplement that.
Yes, education does take some money, and that scholarship money definitely will help. But also, it is really cool being a college student and racing with these professionals. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a good opportunity for them, Camille.
It is. Now let's talk about the drivers in the Coca-Cola Series. Alan, you have some Team Dillon drivers on standby.
Yeah, best part of the show is getting to talk to some of our competitors tonight, right before they go green. Right now we have the Team Dillon drivers. We'll start off with Taylor Hurst. He's joining us here. Thank you so much, Taylor, for joining us. Let's start off with how you got on the team. How'd you join Team Dillon Esports?
It just made sense. I really like what they got going on, and Team Dillon Esports, they are right down the road from me, about 10 minutes or so. And I got a good relationship with Anthony Alfredo. He's over there all the time, and I go over there and meet up with him sometimes. And they provide me really cool merch and stuff. And like I said, I really like what they got going on.
Love the merch. I love that culture they got going over there. So let's talk about the season. I know it could always be a little better. How do you evaluate the season so far?
Well, it was a really strong start to the season. Probably the best I've had out of 7 years. And I don't know, it slowly declined. I got wrecked lap 1, turn 1 at Nashville. And from there it went downhill. It was just bad luck, a lot of things out of my control. And the car, it kind of went away from our favor after an update, and like I said, we had good short run speed at a lot of places, and the long run just wasn't there, and just like I said, getting caught up in unfortunate things.
No one does this alone, especially with your teammates. So how is it having Corey Vincent as your teammate?
Oh, he's great, man. He's an outstanding driver. He's, in my opinion, really one of the best out here. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities to show it, but if you put the equipment under him and give him the opportunity, he can win a lot of races.
We'll talk to him in a minute. And we know you spend so much time preparing, but any hobbies outside of sim racing?
I don't have too many hobbies. This kind of is my hobby. I'm an assistant manager at a Bojangles. We are doing very well there, so I enjoy my job sometimes I don't. I'm sure it's like that for everybody, but I also have a 5-month-old baby at home, and my girlfriend, and she supports me through this the best she can, between this and my job, because it's very time consuming sometimes, but it's a good balance for me. This is kind of my getaway. I don't have the money to go real racing, so this is my competitive side coming out here.
No better reward for your little girl than getting a trophy tonight at Talladega. Any expectations? This is a crazy race.
For me, it's just I want to get it over with, to be honest. I have done 9 or 10 super speedway races since my time in Coke, and I think I finished one of them. So you got to take it serious like every other race. You got to try to get a good finish, but nothing's ever guaranteed. You can wreck on lap 1, you can wreck on the white flag, and you never know what's going to happen. So.
Taylor, thank you so much. Appreciate your time tonight. Needs a little help, needs a little luck. Let's talk to your teammate, Taylor Vincent, about his time. Thank you so much for joining us, Taylor, before you go green tonight. Tell us about your story. How did you join Team Dillon?
Well, it started with a phone call from the Team Dillon guys. They contacted me and told me they were interested in me driving a 3. And at the time, I had a couple opportunities, but nothing else made more sense than joining Team Dillon and being behind the wheel of 3. And last year we had some success, but I think we both knew that there was more in it, so we decided to run it back again this year. And I'm happy where I'm at. The Team Dillon guys are great people over there. They're chill. It was easy to fit in, and I love the 3. Love being behind the wheel of 3. Love the sponsor, Coca-Cola, main sponsor, best drink. So I'm happy where I'm at.
That was my bad, Corey. I'm putting you and the teammates together. So how do you, Corey and Taylor, work together with Team Dillon? How is it having being teammates?
Yeah, me and Taylor work behind the scenes closely. We've been Team Dillon teammates for 2 years, but behind the scenes we've been teammates for a lot longer. We're in the same rookie class in 2015 when we made the Coke Series. So we've been running together a lot. We work together pretty well, and he's a funny guy. He's a character for sure on and out the track. But it's fun having him as a teammate.
I know you're not chasing the championship, but you got 3 more races. What are the goals for those races?
The goal for the final 3 races, pretty simple. Try to get our 3-car victory lane. Want a winless streak, and it's not been fun. We've been really close a couple times, but we just haven't quite got it done. But these next 3, we're really just going to go out there and try to show up and get it done.
Toughest thing about this field, man, you've been so close. How do you deal with those disappointments?
It's been tough. 2 years now, we've been right there on the bubble of making the playoffs, and both years we've barely missed it. This year we were up there in the points, top 10 in points all season long, and then right before the playoffs started, we had a string of 4 races where whatever could go wrong did, and just led to us not being in contention for that final spot that that driver got in on points. It was tough, but we still had a strong year. We had some really good races where we were really competitive, and we got a few more races left, so we're just gonna go out there and try to close the season off strong and get a win.
Appreciate your time, Corey. Good luck tonight to all of Team Dillon. Camille will also be talking to Team Dillon owner Austin Dillon during the race tonight. I'm looking forward to that. We'll be interviewing him as his drivers are trying to get that checkered flag.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I like how we try to separate your interviews. We've had a few shows where you'll just have back-to-back interviews, but you'll be able to hold it off for the race too. But can we just talk about how it just seems like those drivers are just so relaxed? This is what I'm talking about. We are in playoffs. I think I'm more antsy than they are.
Very chill, especially Talladega. And Blake will tell you, I mean, the heart rate, you got the heart monitors we wear. The heart rate of Talladega must be going through the roof, yet they are so chill right now. How do they do that, Blake?
I don't really know, Alan. I think part of it is Talladega. You have so many different things to worry about that you just don't have time to think. You have runs. You have to watch in front of you, behind you. Obviously, these drivers have spotters that they're listening to, so a lot is going through these drivers' minds. I don't think they really have time to think about it.
Well, yeah, that kind of echoes what Taylor was saying. He just wants to get it over with. And I feel like some of the drivers are just like, They're going to try their best and put it all out there. If it's good enough, it's good enough. But I want to actually talk about what I always think is good enough, or the best part of Countdown to Green. It is time for Logitech Show Us Your Rig. This is my favorite segment where we get to see your rigs at home and talk about them. Lots of times they're better than our rigs. We have our first one here from Devin. This is really cool. Nice and simple, slender rig. And hopefully that's relative.
Yeah, simple setup.
I think
nice,
so.
Yeah, good and effective.
Oh, this looks comfy.
Look at the cord management. I can't see any cords there. That's pretty. Good job, Matthew.
You're
headrest?
sitting really far back in that seat, but I like the wide. But oh, here we go. The ultra-wide monitor right next to the window. I wonder how that glare kind of works in. If the sun is at a bad angle, kind of.
It's giving that real life experience, Blake.
And that's Will
Exactly.
Chadwick. He's a Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Series driver. He's trying to make it, to the big series one step above. So he's got a good setup for trying to make it. It's pretty cool.
I love it. And here we go. Another, we got that 3 monitor setup. It seems pretty common with all the rigs that we see. Josh is enjoying a good time, gonna have a good time on this rig.
Yeah, both Josh and Tom here, they are competed in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, so they've got experience. Those monitors, everything they got, Blake, that must be doing them well.
It certainly is. As you saw, a lot of off-road racing for those previous drivers. You can see right here, driver. I wonder what he drives, Alan. I think it's pretty crystal clear there on the wallpaper.
Yeah, what is that? A Ferrari? I see a Ferrari steering wheel. I think, right?
It's Ferrari steering wheel.
You gotta love it. Be sure to send us your rigs. Tweet us using the hashtag eNASCAR and tag both NASCAR and iRacing so we can see your rigs right here on Countdown to Green. We love to see it. We also love to see the drivers just giving us all of the good tea. This one is a little bit on the sad side because Logan Clampett announced that he's retiring from the series.
And, I'm happy for Logan. He had his run last year, came up just one spot short of the championship, but has obviously had a very strong career in the series. Is a 12th all-time in terms of career starts. And then, of course, Ray Alfalla, a little bit of a different tweet here, Alan. Obviously, a little bit of worry about with the weather, and Ray's just hoping to get this race in tonight.
Finish the race before anyone else so I can get on the road, evacuate Ray, everyone in Florida, thinking and just hoping the best for everybody. But Ray's got his priorities. Finish the race, then get to moving.
Yes, everyone, please stay safe. Now, we've got some, actually, Alan, I said you were going to get a break, but I feel like you're not going to get a break now because we are throwing to you because you have Mitchell DeYoung's spotter standing by. I'm really curious to hear what Zach Campbell.
Yeah, our friend Zach Campbell's joining us. Are you there, Zach?
Yes, sir.
All right, good to have you. Well, look, you're known for being a driver in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, but you're also spotting for Mitchell tonight and have been throughout the season. How'd that all come about?
Well, really, it's just a matter of, I think Mitchell had Philip Stam, who's the team manager over at Coin Esports, on the box there for most of last year, and he's in Germany, and Mitchell being in California, and the races being at the time they are. They kind of needed someone so Mitchell wouldn't be, dealing with someone who's kind of half asleep and a little groggy trying to deal with things. So, I joined the team midway through last year, and so was able to join, kind of picked right about when the playoffs started last year, and hit the ground running with him ever since.
Now, I know a lot from the real world side, especially at a place like Talladega, how important spotters are. They never stop talking. They're so vital to the success. What's it like on the esports side?
Well, really on the esports side of things, it's a lot of the same, but also it's a little different. In the sim, they have the virtual spotter that's automated through the game that can tell 2 and 3 wide. So you adjust your calls to that. Really, you can kind of adjust, and really a lot of what you talk about is energy, what lines are moving, what lines are dropping back, calling out things that the computer can't detect, like checkups, people blocking, people doing different things. And really a lot of what you're paying attention to is just stuff the driver can't see. It's kind of useless just to tell them what they can see, so it's all about just managing and understanding kind of, what they can't see and what is most helpful to them.
You're a championship contender in the series you run. Some people don't understand the time and effort that goes into that as they're trying to climb the ladder. How would you tell or explain to somebody how much time goes into being a pro contender?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a normal job, you know. I think on the road courses, especially in a lot of the cars where you have a lot of things to manage, you know, I think you delve into the setup side of things a lot similar to how the oval side is and the NASCAR side is. So it takes a while just to get through things and really kind of almost do what they do in real life, but in real life they have limits on testing time and things, and here you don't have limits on testing time. So you really have to delve in and kind of find every little last thing, because it is so close after all. Everyone has the same equipment here, there's no differences, so you have to make the difference behind the wheel and just with setup. So you have to go in and dig as deep as you can and spend as much time as you can just finding things as any team would do in real life.
Good stuff. Next race for the Porsche Contender Series coming up on October 1st. Zach, thank you so much for joining us. I learned a lot, a little different aspect of this esports side of it. So have fun tonight. Good luck with Mitchell. All right, Zach, thanks for joining us. Yeah, that was cool. We don't often get a spotter's perspective, especially another contender pro from a different series also helping out. That was a neat mix we got there.
Yeah, it was really great to see that, because spotters is just one part of the many parts when drivers hit the track. A big part of those parts is the track itself. So let's talk about the track analysis, Blake.
Let's do that, Camille. This facility, once known as Alabama International Motor Speedway, was renamed to what it is come to be known as today, 1989. It is one word. It is Talladega. And there's really not much to explain here. 2.66 miles, a ton of banking that allows these cars to run at just insane speeds. Nick Ottinger not only won last year, he won 2 years before that in 2019. So Ottinger has won 2 of our last 3 series races here at this racetrack. A lot of draft, a lot of capability, and again, an opportunity for just about anybody to try and go to victory lane tonight.
Yes, I love it. Anybody could go to victory lane, but we got to talk about who we think will be going, because we got our picks. Can I just say, Blake, although I am in the lead, I don't know how long that would last, so I have to call it out. Congrats on that 40 points, because you hit it on the nose. You are on the comeback.
We are trying to get our way through. I mean, I could get the next 3 right, and I think I'd only end up with 160. So we are on the charge. But yes, I will try to keep. I doubt I could bat 1,000 after tonight. But the driver I'm going to go with tonight, we know that Talladega is a track that creates first-time winners. We know that this driver has really nothing to worry about points-wise. He's far enough ahead of the cut line, but has no playoffs to worry about either. I'm going to go with another first-time winner tonight. He has 100 career starts. I say 101's a winner. Blake Reynolds goes to victory lane tonight for the first time in his Coke Series career.
All right. Okay, Alan.
All right, yeah, I got to catch you, Camille. So I'm going with someone we know can get checkered flags. I'm going with my friend Steven Wilson. Go back and look at Daytona. He had a top 3. He's a playoff contender. Needs to be up there. Needs to be aggressive. He wants to get to Phoenix, be a champion. So I think he has to be up there and do well tonight. Steven Wilson is the pick tonight.
All right. Well, I wish I could say Steven Wilson, because Steerhouse has been really tweeting at me when I don't pick Steven Wilson. And unfortunately, I'm going to expect another tweet, because I'm going with Nick Ottinger. You know, when I look back to last year, I feel like Nick Ott just kind of... Look, okay, Steerhouse, you let me down last time. Steven Wilson, you let me down last time. So I got to go with Nick Ott this time. I'm sorry. I'll hear about it later. We'll see how the race goes. But Blake, you have pole sitter.
I do have our pole sitter tonight, and it may be the most useless pole because, again, it's Talladega. A lot can change, but it is Graham Bolin, who right now will be starting from pole position tonight. So Graham Bolin, a playoff contender, going to help to have some track position, but at Talladega, you can lose it very quickly, and there he is right now getting warmed up and just about ready to go.
Blake, as the driver, what's your philosophy? I mean, is it safety or is it aggression tonight?
I think it depends. I think it resembles what we're going to see in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series. If you need points, you have to stay up front. You have to stay aggressive. So I was in a race in this car last night on iRacing. I was 17th on a green-white checkered restart. I was second at the white flag, and I finished 15th. And I wasn't involved in a crash. That's just how crazy this racing can be tonight. So, personally, I just think you have to be up front, or you have to do the opposite. You have to go completely to the back.
All right, we're going to have to see what the drivers choose because they always keep us guessing. But luckily, we won't have to guess too much longer because the race is just after this break. Make sure to join Alan and Blake and Steve Letarte for all that race action. Thank you, Alan and Blake. This has been Countdown to Green. Make sure to stick around for the race.
Or no, baby. Add in my Syracuse orange. We are at 8.
Ten drivers in, 1 driver out. Only one's left standing in the end. I am the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series playoffs. I am NASCAR.
There are just 2 ways through the playoffs. The first one, elimination. But by the looks of these 12 drivers, it's safe to say that isn't an option. Now the second one is to win the whole thing and forever be called a champion. Thing is, there's only room for one. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. I am NASCAR.
The best, you got them 4 abreast, often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now.
This is no ordinary oval. The name says it all. Anywhere else, you might be safe. And as the checkered flag flies, anything can happen.
Who's your spotter? Definitely need to fire them.
Talladega.
Tonight, the greatest stock car sim racers in the world get ready to tackle Bill France Sr.'s Palace of Speed, simply known today by one word, Talladega, for round number 2 of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs for the running of tonight's Logitech 200. So happy you could be joining us on a Tuesday evening. I'm Blake McCandless and joined alongside in the broadcast booth tonight by two-time NASCAR Cup Series winning crew chief at this racetrack is Steve Letarte, and O'Reilly Auto Parts pit reporter for PRN and Alan Cavana. And Steve, I will start with you. Obviously, you're a winner here at this racetrack. You know what it takes. How much more difficult is it, though, with this added pressure of this being a playoff race? What is that approach like for these drivers?
Well, I think you have to make a decision. What are you trying to do here? Do you think conservative, playing it safe, is the best way to score points? I've never found that to be successful. I've always found the best place at Talladega is to lead, to try to control the runs. If bad luck is meant to bite you, it's going to get you wherever you run. I'd much rather be up front. But the misconception from Talladega, and it exists in the real world and in the virtual world, it's that track positions can just be shown up or gained by luck at the end. I believe if you want to run well in this race, you need to attack early, be aggressive on your pit calls, and play it where track position matters.
Yeah, it's certainly going to matter. That sounds like a driver that you may have worked with once upon a time. And Alan, I know we talked about it a lot in pre-race, but there is so much on the line for really any of these drivers that have an agenda here tonight.
But there is, and remember, no one is safe because we didn't have one of our playoff drivers win at Bristol, so it's just like the real world in that aspect. But there's so much on the line with the drivers who are worried about relegation, right? The ones who can still move up the standings, the team standings, so much on the line for all these drivers, not just our playoff drivers. That's what we have to think about as we're thinking about anybody can win this race tonight.
Interesting to see for sure, but let's not waste any more time. Let's throw it down trackside.
Good evening, race fans. I'm Jim Hoyt, head of marketing at Logitech G. On behalf of everyone here at G, we're ready and excited to kick off this race. Drivers, start your engines.
Welcome, everyone, to round number 2 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. This title fight isn't over by a long shot as we head to the track where anything can happen, Talladega Superspeedway. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoff contenders. Hanging out of the points lead by putting the number 10 Stewart Haas Racing Mustang in the top 10 at Bristol with 3 wins this season from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, it's Steven Wilson. Driving the legendary number 21 for Wood Brothers Racing representing Gastonia, North Carolina. Only 1 point behind the lead with a top 5 finish at Bristol, it's Garrett Lowe. Hot on the heels of our top 2 drivers, only 7 points back, trying to get to number 48 Charlotte Phoenix Toyota to race for a championship from Houston, Texas, it's Graham Bolin. Your 2014 champion falling victim to the chaos that is short track racing, trying to make it happen on the high banks of Talladega tonight from Concord, North Carolina in the number 8 Junior Motorsport Chevrolet, it's Michael Conti. From Fresno, California, driving the Joe Gibbs Racing number 18 Toyota. The only driver who's raced his way into the playoffs on points, trying to guarantee a spot for him in Phoenix tonight, it's Bobby Zelensky. Driving the number 79 Clint Boyer Racing Ford from Revere, Massachusetts. With the only win this season on a super speedway, trying to put that experience to use and find his way to the championship 4, it's Femi Olatunbosun. Another playoff driver chewed up and spat out in Bristol. Tonight he's hungry for a win at Talladega. Driving the number 95 XZ Chevrolet Camaro out of Matthews, North Carolina, it's Casey Kerwin. Another of the many drivers caught up in incidents at Bristol, trying to find victory tonight at Talladega. In the number 25 William Byron Esports Chevrolet from Claremont, North Carolina, 2020 champion, it's the Audi boss, Nick Ottinger. In the number 75 Ford Mustang for Mode Motorsports representing Darien, Illinois. With some bad luck at Bristol, that could all change tonight. It's Matt Busa. From Temecula, California, but residing in Germany, falling short at Bristol, but a driver you can never count out with his real racing and sim racing pedigree. In the number 23 2311 Toyota Camry, it's Mitchell de Jong. 2 more chances to have a shot at sim racing immortality. The great equalizer tonight, 2.66 miles of some of the most feared tarmac in motorsports.
Will a playoff driver secure their spot in the Final Four? Will another driver play spoiler and snatch away the victory? Only one way to find out as round number 2 of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs start now.
And there you have it, as you see the drivers and how they will line up tonight. We mentioned it earlier in Countdown to Green. For the Charlotte Phoenix, Graham Bolin will start on pole tonight with Garrett Lowe, another playoff contender, starting to his outside. Michael Conti, awfully strong here last year, 2021. He'll start on the inside of row number 2 with 2311's Keegan Leahy looking to make up that points gap towards relegation. Back in row number 3, it is Nick Ottinger, a 2-time winner in our last 3 Talladega races. He will start alongside Steve's driver in Dylan Alt. Back to row number 4, it'll be Steven Wilson for Stewart-Haas Esports on the inside of row number 4 to his outside Space Station Gaming's Alan Bose. And in row number 5, Michael Guest will start alongside a great friend of his and a duo you will have to watch at the end of this race. Malik Ray. Alan rounds out your top 10.
Picking it up in row 6, Cody Bias in Mode Motorsports, starting next to the 2311 car of Mitchell DeYoung. In the next row, we have Casey Curran with Team XSET, starting next to iRacing Derek Justice on the outside of row 7. Row 8, we have Vicente Salas with William Esports, starting next to Matt Busa in the number 75 Mode Motorsports car. Row 9, Ray Alfalo, the former champ for JGR, and Team XSET's Ryan Luza, the winner in Bristol, in the number 4 on the outside. Row 10, Garrett Maines, Elliott Sadler Esports, starting next to his teammate, Liam Brotherton, on the outside.
21st, we'll go Derek Bordeaux for E-Racer. 22nd, it'll be Femi Olad, who looked to make up some spots. He won at Daytona earlier this year. For Stewart-Haas Esports, Dylan Duval will start 23rd, alongside Blake Reynolds for Jim Beaver Esports in 24th. The other Charlotte Phoenix entry, Colin Keister, rolls off 25th. Taylor Hurst will start in the 26th starting spot for Team Dillon. JGR's Bobby Zielinski will start 27th. 28th goes to Zach Novak and Rise Esports. 29th is Briar LaPrade representing the 88 Junior Motorsports Machine, and Jimmy Mullis rounds out your top 30.
Row 16, we go to Kyle Peddle with the number 54, starting next to Steve's driver in Letarte Motorsports, Brian Mercurio, on the outside. Row 17, we have Donovan Strauss for William Esports, and Colin Bowden, the number 69 E-Racer car, on the outside. Corey Vincent with Team Dillon goes on the inside of row 18 next to Blade Witt for the Wood Brothers. And row 19, Logan Clampett for William Byell and Eve Sports, and RFK Racing's Parker Retzlaff on the outside there. Row 20, Nicholas Shelton for Clint Boyer Racing in the 14, and Caden Honeycutt for RFK in the 17.
37 qualifiers within 0.2 of a second, but at the top of it all, it is Graham Bolin who has caught up with Allen.
Graham, great lap out there to hold the pole. What do you have to do to win the race and stay at the front of this field tonight?
Just keep track position. Don't give up your right rear. The right rear side draft's really bad, so if you get caught out on the bottom, you can lose like 15 positions. So just keep in track position, and hopefully you'll be there at the end for this chaotic ending, because it's going to be a lot of people having huge runs and making questionable moves. So, yeah.
All right, yeah, just stay to the end and get to the checkered flag. Good, enjoy the race, Graham.
Thank you.
Sounds simple enough for Graham Bolin, but Steve, you're the best in the business. We'll leave it to you to take us through our ASUS race analysis.
Well, that was a pretty good analysis by the driver there on the front row. Race length 70 laps, about 150 miles. Pit road speed 55 miles per hour. The big key in this whole thing is 3 sets of tires. It's that fuel window. Tires aren't very, very important. It's all about fuel, 41 to 44 laps. So when do you make that pit stop? And can you stretch the tank, perhaps, if we get a timely yellow?
That is going to be the case. Remember, last year it was about a group of 8 or 9 drivers that short pit to try to get to the end of the race, pulled away from the rest of the pack, and Nick Ottinger was able to cruise his way to an easy victory last year. It'll be interesting to see how that strategy plays out. Just going to be one stop tonight. As you see, the lights on our virtual pace car have extinguished, and the field will fall into the hands of Graham Bolin. So the pace car will pull down beneath the apron and dive down to the safety of the pit lane. We are happy you could be joining us here from Talladega Superspeedway for round number 2 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs. The field will work into the purview of Barney the flagman. They'll wave the green flag, and we are underway for the Logitech 200. so far starting to form up 2 by 2 at the front of the field. You could see almost what you would have seen a number of years ago, a 2-car tandem forming up with your top 2 rows, Graham Bolin and Garrett Lowe side by side off of turn number 2 and lap number 1.
And we heard Graham Bolin, all he wants to do is keep his track position. Look how far back he is already, defending that inside line, but some people got by already on the outside. That's Keegan Leahy going in front of the lead on the bottom as Graham Bolin moves up to the top again, trying to do all he can to keep that track position early on in the race.
Well, and he tipped his hand a little bit by saying he wants to protect that right side. That's where these cars are most vulnerable for the side draft. You talked about the tandem. Now the front 2, almost a trio on that top line right against the fence with momentum. But just like in real life, engine temperature is a concern for these eSport drivers, so these guys can tandem but have to pay attention. You can overheat and end your day.
And it's definitely something that even running these races a little bit earlier on in the day is a concern for these drivers. We thought that they would maybe form up by the wall, but don't tell that to last week's winner, Ryan Luza, as he is making a move up the middle 3 wide. As you also see Ray Alfalo, what a significant run that he gets into turn number 3. And I think that's what Graham Bolin was alluding to, guys, that amount of momentum that you can carry is quite significant, as now we have a new race leader. Ryan Luza's gone all the way to the point.
Familiar spot for Ryan Luza in these playoffs, as he's won in Bristol, the shortest track here in the playoffs, and now here he is leading at the longest track. Just another reminder, right, about all the different players we have in this race. It's not just the playoff drivers going for that championship. It's all these drivers out here capable especially of winning this race, but also capable of getting the trophy, racing for their pride, racing for their team position standings, and racing for some trying to just stay in the series. So many agendas out there as, again, we have another lead change out there on the track.
Oh, an aggressive block and a huge stack up there on the top as Casey Kerwin shut the door right there on Colin Keister, who's already worked his way to the front of the field from 25th. So they're making moves early here, Steve.
Yeah, but you called it right. An aggressive block, pretty aggressive for lap 3. It's really about the momentum. These runs are so big. I think they're sometimes hard to judge just how much of a run you're trying to block or defend. You mentioned it. The top 3 cars plus over double digits, 12th, 23rd, and 31st relative to their starting position. So movement is available and available early, but you see off in the distance as we ride on board with Femi Olat, that single file line around the bottom, all the way in the back. A few guys not wanting to engage this chaos up front.
And it's a lot of chaos. It's a little bit different from what we saw at Daytona to open this season. And Alan, one thing that I think was kind of a compliment to iRacing was looking at our version of Daytona, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, seeing how those lines formed and how they almost replicated to a T in real life, how Daytona played out. You saw cars on the very bottom, the very top of the racetrack, and then they went out at Daytona with this next-gen car, never been raced before, and it was very accurate. So the drafting, the side drafting, all very close to what you'll see on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's something to think about even tonight. Remember, as it's getting close in that middle lane, as the 7 car backs up a little bit, of Malik Ray, who's made a dart up to the front of this, but that middle lane, not where you want to be, just like on Sundays, but we have 3 distinct lines there. But I just think back to the Daytona race earlier this year. How much can be learned from there? I know they're 2 different tracks, 2 different races a long time ago, but how much was learned in that Daytona race with this next-gen car on this super speedway type format? We'll see tonight how that plays out.
You see up at the front of the field, Dylan Duval will move up. It was Malik Ray that led that last lap this time around, lap number 6. We've had a different lap leader every single circuit around this track so far tonight as Ryan Luza leads. But way out back here, Steve, you've seen kind of what I guess what you would call the conservative bunch. They're looking up front, and, well, they don't really like what they see up here.
Well, they know that a pit stop's still required. Only 6 laps into this race, 6 of 70, about 40, just north of 40 laps on fuel. So there's no reason for this group to panic right here. Even though they're about a half a straightaway behind, that many cars organized around the bottom, I think could go up to this lead pack if they so choose. At this point, it looks to me like good communication and good planning. Unfortunately, I've seen good plans go awry at the Speedway. We will just see how this affects their finishing position versus these guys that kind of have a feel on how this race is running.
And you have to think about who's in that second pack, right? You think about some of the playoff drivers that just need that checkered flag. Back there is Nick Ottinger, Michael Conti, Mitchell DeYoung is in that second pack. They're not up here in this 3 wide. That shows a lot about their mindset. Just make it to the end, then race for those points, Blake.
And you're going to be able to see a fantastic view of about the middle of this pack, the Hornet's Nest, as we take a look with Corey Vincent and our Coca-Cola onboard camera. And a great perspective right there, as you could hear how much Corey Vincent was lifting in his Team Dillon machine. And speaking of Team Dillon, Alan, we're lucky enough to be joined by the owner of Team Dillon. He knows a thing or two about winning some super speedway races in this car, Austin Dillon.
Yeah, one of the best out there. So happy to have him join us as his drivers are trying to get the checkered flag. Austin, thanks so much for joining us. We know your story in the real world on the Sunday side. How'd you get involved in sim racing?
It was just an opportunity that came up, and I felt like obviously I grew up doing a little gaming myself, not necessarily iRacing or just racing games, all kinds of games. And during that time frame when COVID hit, I was playing a lot of Call of Duty and streaming Twitch until my wife was like, "Hey, you better take it easy. You're playing too many games." And so then it was, I had that involvement with the iRacing team and got really, just interested in the drivers and the competition part of it and what it took to be good at it, because it's a total different form of racing to me when you're on there. I mean, you got a lot of work and effort in the setups and how you drive it. So I've enjoyed, keeping up with iRacing and watching, the Coke series grow.
And we've got a new car on Sundays that you've had to race and done well and even won in with the next gen car. New car, obviously, here in the iRacing series as well. What's the feedback like, giving feedback and learning a new car and how to approach that on the season?
Yeah, adjusting to a new car is always tough. I think in the beginning of the year, I would tell you that I was probably 40-50% comfortable driving the race car throughout the race. I would get to maybe a 65-75 level and be good enough to have some good runs. Now I'm starting to feel back to where I was at the old car. I'm feeling that I can get it loose and I can catch it. Your abilities grow the more comfortable you get with the car until you step over that edge. And, usually that's what happens when you get too comfortable. But right now we're in a pretty good spot. I feel really comfortable with the car and the ability to catch it. But yes, I mean, you've got to be very quick on your movements to be able to save this car.
So almost like,
hey, appreciate you joining us, Austin. How cool is that, Steve, to have one of the Sunday drivers on with us during this show, watching his drivers try to get that checkered flag? What do you think about a driver's approach like that, learning and really adapting throughout the season?
well, I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, track time is reasonably limited for the real life NASCAR drivers. It's about 20 minutes of practice each weekend. There's not a lot of testing. That's something that's really the opposite compared to these Coca-Cola eNASCAR drivers. The amount of hours these guys put in behind the wheel is quite impressive. Even as you watch this draft right here, they are simulating real life because they have the ability to do it. I can assure the people watching it is not this easy. I have attempted this. These tandem drafts are hard. They're hard to push. They're hard to control, but it's great to have an Austin a part of the sport. He does a really nice job promoting it, and I think that's what makes this even more fun to watch.
Well, and not only is it preparation for these drivers and the amount of testing they go in, because of that limited practice time, I know Caden Honeycutt was somebody that I was racing with today who's running in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race at Talladega this weekend, and he was running on the service in the truck, trying to get prepared, trying to get used to the draft and everything that's going to be asked of him when he goes to Talladega for the first time in his career. They said the biggest track he's been on is Pocono, so iRacing a big tool for him to prepare. I know even a little bit earlier on in the year, Lane Riggs was somebody who was on here quite a bit running at Richmond and at IRP to try and perform for those races. As you see Honeycutt right here riding along in the back, not a playoff driver, but definitely told me today he was going to take the conservative approach, and you can see it playing out right now.
Yeah, you see it playing out, but you also see that this back line is getting a little more aggressive with their overall lap time. They were a couple tenths of a second off the leaders. The last few laps, they've kind of picked up their pace because, as you see up in the distance, still some stragglers on the bottom, but that lead pack has migrated to the top. We see this a lot in speedway races. And I blame it, or I contribute it to the top 2 or 3 guys. When the second and third place drivers are willing to run behind the leader in line, that allows the leader to pull them to the top. And this is what we heard at the beginning of the show. You have to protect that right rear quarter panel, because you see as Caden Honeycutt goes to the top of the racetrack, he has good momentum.
And there's only so much racing you can do in that second pack. You do not want to lose sight of that front pack, right, Blake?
That's certainly the case, Alan, that side draft, that you don't want to be battling too much back there. And Honeycutt actually came over the radio a couple of laps ago, and he said, is our plan to lose the front pack because of how they were racing back there? So it seems as though they have caught up at the time being on lap 15. Right now it is Colin Bowden in that 69 car right now. He's somebody who struggled a little bit for this E-Racer outlet in 2022. But this is an opportunity race for somebody like him that hasn't had the season that he's wanted, sitting right now back in the 35th position in points. You see he's all smiles right now. He sees that car in his rearview mirror, and he's looking pretty right now.
Yeah, you mentioned the season for Colin, a couple top 10s, one early in the year at Las Vegas, and then a couple races ago at Darlington, his season best 7th place at Darlington, looking to best that today at Talladega, and so far so good. He smiles, but we're 15 laps in. Give it a little bit of time, that smile will turn into some intense look.
It certainly will. As you see, as Keister gets a little bit closer, you see the focus start to shift a little bit for Colin Bowden. And Alan, I think Steve made a good point earlier when we talked about, that we see everybody on the top, and if the first few drivers make their way through the top, last year it was all the bottom that these drivers were riding around. And so Bowden, Keister, Ray, and the like trying to make the top work, but nevertheless, here comes Parker Retzlaff. He's trying to make the middle work with not a lot of help from Logan Clampett, who, as we were talking about earlier in Countdown to Green, announced his eventual retirement from the series after these last 3 of 2022 are done. The runner-up from last year is going to be stepping away from eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competition after 112 career races.
Yeah, that's an impressive career. 112 starts is a big-time commitment. He has shown pace really over his entire career, so that was a big announcement that he'd be stepping aside as this 6 and 97 continue to work both the side draft and the tandem, right? So they kind of side draft, pull the top line back a little bit, they get connected in the corners, tandem up, get as much momentum as they can. They're actually holding on better than I thought, to be honest, Blake. I thought they would lose more time to the top lane, doing a nice job staying close.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Steve. I thought it was mainly going to be that side draft as they go down the straightaway would drag them back a little bit easier, but it seems like pinching them up into the wall is not doing as poorly as we thought. Now, of course, they're not making a lot of headway, but they are maintaining right there, and I think a couple of drivers see what they're able to do right there. They'll be joined by Derek Bordeaux, Graham Bolin, and a couple of others as they try to make that middle line work here on lap number 18.
Yeah, and as we cross over at lap 18, I would call it about 9 or 10 laps away from when that fuel window will open, where if you pit, you can make it to the finish. That's an important moment in the race, because that's where all these drivers, all the crew chiefs, all the spotters, they know once they pass by that amount, once they get to about lap,
I told Drew like
call it 27, 28, then they know any yellow could bring them to pit road, fill up their fuel tanks, and they'd be safe for the rest of the day when it comes to strategy. And I think that is kind of why the guys riding in the back have a little more confidence currently, because they know a pit stop is still to come. And if it happens under green, it can really kind of turn the whole field upside down.
That's the one separator at these super speedway races, are those green flag pit stops. You look at the top of your screen, you'll see the names highlighted in red. Those are the drivers that are still eligible and competing in these playoffs for the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship. And, of course, their shot at $100,000. And as they scroll across the screen, you see a lot of them at the back of the field right now. You see Femi Olot right there at the top of the screen riding 32nd. Heck, you even go all the way back to 40th right now. Matt Busa is riding at the tail end back of the field. So I think we're starting to see a lot of these playoff drivers. They see a lot to lose here at the beginning of this race.
They do, but I will tell you that 40th is uncomfortable. I mean, 40th, you get a couple cars in front of you kind of stacked up, and you just check up for a second, just flip the throttle, and next thing you know, you've lost the draft. And then I've been a part of those. That is a slow, painful lap after lap, losing 2.5 seconds to the cars that are still in the draft, just hoping for a yellow. How about this 6 and the 97? The big tandem push on the bottom. They're trying to make a run. The question is, if they make a run and clear the top two cars, will they pull back in line? I think that speed on the bottom has forced the top to get a little bit more aggressive with their pushes, but now there's some gaps in that top lane. I believe this 97, this 6, they may have the opportunity to pull up in line if they can continue, although their momentum has kind of increased the size of their lifeboat, if you will. A lot of guys pulled out of the top. Now they're down to the bottom. It looks like about, 3, 6, at least 8 cars strong.
And I think everybody was seeing how well those two were working together, and they thought, heck, maybe I'll go down there and join them. But why don't we get a little bit of perspective right now from the driver leading that outside line as we welcome in the fourth member of our broadcast crew. James Pike is catching up with Colin Bowden, who, James, he's leading this race, and he's going to try to have a word with us.
Here's a fun one, an onboard interview with a race leader for eRacer and Colin Bowden. What's it like leading this pack in excess of 190 miles an hour?
Right now, I don't want to say it's relatively easy because I could probably spin out at any moment, but it's not too bad right now. I was just trying to make it to the pit stop and see that inside line coming every now and then. But like I said, they got nothing for me so far. We're leading every lap trying to, so we'll see how far till we get this thing wadded up.
Are you worried about evolutions in this pack, or are you already trying to think about how you think this front of this group is going to change, especially as we get towards the end of the race?
I'm worried that Colin's not pushing me right here and we just lost the lead, but the evolutions, I mean, oh, look out. All right, well, that's perfect. The evolutions, no, not really, because we're just, it's just going to get crazy anyway. We're just trying to maintain track position right now with a couple of teammates behind me.
How tough is it to manage those moves like we just saw from Clampett there? When this is all happening at 190 miles an hour and you've got the best of the best here, how tricky is that?
Right now it's not too hard. We're just somewhat taking it easy. This might be that move might get a little dicey later on in the event, but right now we'll make it work.
There is now second place in this race, Colin Bowden, but still a solid run up towards the front of the field at the beginning of this Logitech tour.
And there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, as Colin Bowden right now lost the lead, as even he was quick to mention, Steve, to Logan Clampett under the course of that run. When you see a driver like that who is calm, does that make you perhaps think about riding with it or wanting to maybe drive something like this, or were you more comfortable on top of the pit box?
Oh, no, I'm going back to the pit box. These guys make it look a whole lot easier, but it's such a great opportunity to kind of talk to the drivers in action, in the middle of the action. We're thankful that we get to talk to some of the superstars on Sunday afternoon, but we try to keep most of our questions to pace laps and red flags. I'm not sure I want to be bothering anybody at 188 miles an hour.
I hope so, and I hope that it's not nearly 130 or 40 degrees in some of these sim rigs, as Bowden has the lead, slides with the bump from Colin Keister up at the front of the field. He collects it and keeps it straight. We stay green. Look further on back here. This line led by Keegan Leahy. This is for 26th position, and I think it's safe to say that they have well lost the draft. They're about a second and a half back. They're side by side, and now it's even stretched to about 2 seconds worth. So this is not the lead pack. This is everybody who thought about falling back, but it seems they're losing more track position than they so desired, but not so for your drivers, Steve and Brian Mercurio, who right now is hanging on to the very end of this lead pack.
Yeah, this is a decent place to be. If you kind of have everything in front of you, you can see what's going to happen. You see 2x2. While big issues can still happen 2x2, you have a better chance than 3x3 and a little bit of an escape room. Brian's doing a nice job kind of figuring out this Coca-Cola level series. These guys are just so good. Him and I have had multiple conversations, very impressed with the talent level in this field. Goodyear on board this week and giving it a decent ride, 25 laps complete, closing in on that magic number where we think we're inside that pit window. We'll see if anybody decides to strategy call the pit under green or if they'll just wait for a caution.
Well, remember, it was last year, as soon as the leaders could make it to the end of the race, there was a group of about 10 cars that all said, let's come in at once. They worked together and were able to pull away from the rest of the field. It made it relatively easy for them to try and battle for this win. I'm not sure how easy that'll be to do here in these next-gen cars that we've seen that bubble effect. It's not quite pushing cars away quite as strong as these next-gen cars are doing, and the drag in these cars pretty significant. It's very tough for the leader to try and get away. Up at the top of your screen, you saw Ray Alfala, again, 4-time series champion, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, trying to lead that outside line. And he is led right now by Casey Kerwin as they will come around to the stripe and try to get going with lap 27. Just a little past a third of the way through this Logitech 200 from Talladega, and we will go side by side. You won't miss a minute of it as we keep rolling along with the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
There are just two ways through the playoffs. The first one, elimination. But by the looks of these 12 drivers, it's safe to say that isn't an option. Now the second one is to win the whole thing and forever be called a champion. Thing is, there's only room for one. I am the NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. I am NASCAR.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, and by Asus, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR, and by Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Appreciate the words from the inaugural eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series winner and Dale Earnhardt Jr. He even finished third in the 2010 version of this race. Back with you here from the Talladega Superspeedway. It is Casey Kerwin who is leading, but he has been put in the middle of the field. And you could see him free falling that red line that indicates that he is an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoff contender, falling down the leaderboard. And Steve, this is where you don't want to be, it seems. Middle of 3 wide, you're getting side drafted from both sides. I think drivers talked about a pre-race. This is a tough spot to be in right now.
Well, this is the concern for the playoff drivers, right? That's why we saw so many near the back, but Kerwin's decided it's time to move up to the front. And I don't mind this approach. We're talking about a driver who's middle of the pack, currently sits 7th coming into this race when it comes to the point standing after our first race of this round. So, he's looking for that automatic bid. Oh, that is a tight squeeze, though, up in front of the 7 car. Malik Ray cuts the 95 some slack and lets him up in that top lane.
Just so quick, Blake. He went from that leader spot on the top lane to getting in the middle and now back a few rows, and that's where the trouble begins, and that's how much quickly it can change.
Well, again, I think Graham Boland said it best in his pole sitter interview, protect that right rear. You do not want somebody to get to that right rear quarter panel and be able to drag you back. As you see, Kerwin now going to make a move to the bottom. He's going to bring along Blake Reynolds for Jim Beaver Esports. Right now, that duo currently leading the team standings in this series. No drivers that made the playoffs in Michael Guest or Blake Reynolds, but Reynolds, as we talked about on the pre-race show, 100 career starts. This is 101. He's still looking for that first Coke Series win. Talladega could be a great place to do it.
He's still running that Travis Pastrana scheme. Very easy to pick out on the racetrack. I appreciate the commitment to the scheme ever since the throwback race. A big move to the bottom lane, though. Those are the ones that kind of concern you because they kind of stack up, and as we were seeing lap 32 click by, still a little surprised we haven't seen any takers. You mentioned that strategy that seemed to work last year. I thought we would have a handful of cars that may try it. You can't do it alone, but could you convince 6, 8, maybe 10 cars to come to pit road on your own standalone strategy?
And let's not overlook what got Reynolds to the lead there. It looked like Casey Kerwin's a really good pusher, but look what he does when he's alone out front in that outside lane. It looks like he's kind of holding up the lane, but he was able to push that 15 all the way to the front, putting Blake Reynolds in position to make that move. That's something to think about at the end. If Kerwin's not going to win, maybe he can push someone to first, second place.
Well, it seems like right now he has a great pusher with him in Malik Ray, who if you have been on the iRacing service at all and you have ever run a super speedway race in some of the top splits of iRacing, you know the name Malik Ray. Has some of the most wins in official racing amongst anybody that's been on the iRacing service, whether they've been in this series or not. Ray, not a winner yet in his eNASCAR career, but he is the self-proclaimed king of super speedways. He loves this type of racing. These are the type of races that he lives for. No shocker to see him up here trying to help a buddy of his in Casey Kerwin, but also running second in line right now, trying to push that 95 car, James Pike.
Yeah, Blake, just a quick note on Casey Kerwin. You saw that sudden move to the middle. He tried to pick up Ray Alfala. I came over the radio and said, I've had enough leading for now, if you know what I mean. So make of that what you will. But I want to bring up this point very quickly. We haven't seen too many people work that middle lane just yet. But remember, the last time we had a package, this race case, we see our leaders coming down to pit road. The winning move came from Brandon Cattell on the last lap through the middle groove in the tri-oval. So that might be something to watch for as we get closer to the end of the race.
Oh, and it was a lockup there for Casey Kerwin as he made his way onto pit road. Looking at least at the entry sheet right now, no penalty as he got just down to speed and time as we see a number of drivers. Graham Boland, Steven Wilson, Alan Bowes, Casey Kerwin, Femi Olot, Dylan Duval, and Blake Reynolds all make their way down to pit lane. We'll see what the tire call is. It looks like most of them, Steve, looking to just fill up on fuel and get going.
Yeah, I don't think tires and tire grip is a big concern, so the cleanest stop you can have. I'm a little surprised I maybe didn't take 2 tires because fuel was going to take as long as that anyway. And here comes the next wave, right? So we had one wave, and now you have a counter, a little indecision by one car, and now we see another 6 cars. I'm not sure about that one. The 17 car looks awful fast to pit road.
Well, and Caden Honeycutt elected not to qualify, so he had a pit stall that was the second pit stall entering, so I'm sure that maybe took him by surprise a little bit. He overshoots his stall a little bit on that round of pit stops. You can see in purple how long they have been on pit lane on the left-hand side of your screen, or rather when they decided to make their pit stop. But they are starting to make some bold moves. Liam Brotherton all the way beneath the apron as he runs right towards Dylan All. I imagine that we'll see some more takers this time.
Got to get to the bottom if you're coming.
Yeah, exactly. You can't pit from the top, Alan. Exactly right.
And another small group. This is about the third group of, say, 6, 7 cars that have come in. This one looks just to be about 5. It'll be interesting to see how they all pair up, where they are on the track, running together in small groups, or if those groups can get together once again, because it's still a big pack out front.
Well, and Alan, that's really the point. I like pitting with 5 or 6 cars as far as pit road entry. I think you could be cleaner. You can have less chance of having an accident. But you have to get reassembled on the racetrack. 5 cars at a time are just not going to be enough to have the pace to run down this big pack, or at least stay in front of it.
I think that's where we saw that winning move last year, was that it was about a pack of 10 or so cars that all came in together. We're going to see this time, will Keegan Leahy make the dive to pit road? He will not. He will keep on going. But a couple more are down. Donovan Strauss, Briar LaPrade, Colin Bowden, several more. It's about 10 or so, at least in this round of stops, that elect to make their way in. And either no tires, or even we're starting to see some left side tires here, Steve, with some of these pit calls.
Yeah, now we have the stress of the playoff guys. You see them. There's what looks like 3, 4, 5, 6 or so, 7 or so in the top 8. And now they're out there almost, I call it by themselves, a very small lead pack. Will they be able to keep enough momentum to kind of make this pit cycle work? I like the guys that have already come to pit road. I think the earlier call was the better call. We'll see what Conti, Leahy, what they do right here. If they're going to stick with running long, nope, they're going to come to pit road right here. I think they see the same idea. The pack started to dwindle. They started to lose numbers.
You can see everybody trying to make their way down, at least trying to see if there were any penalties to speak of. Not so, but Steve, I think this is not a good situation for Cody Bias. He went longer than everybody else, but the amount of speed he is going to lose on this lap could cost him a ton of track position.
Yeah, I just really believe it was a mistake. I think he was trying to get to pit road. Maybe he thought he was going to either overshoot or get caught up in an accident. That last lap alone, he gave up almost a second just running by himself a little bit through the tri-oval. Let's just see right here. I would be amazed if he doesn't come to pit road this next time. With only 32 laps to go, you have to get cycled around.
He is running 180 miles an hour. The rest of the pack is at 195. You can see them roar by Keegan Leahy and Alan Bowes there on the bottom. Here in iRacing, these drivers have to go all the way around to turn 2 to exit the apron, so you're going to lose a little bit of time doing that as well. So not working out on that strategy for Leahy. Otherwise, you see Guest, Nick Ottinger, Matt Busa able to pretty much blend right where they want to be, right where this pack is.
And we look at the front of the field, same car we've seen, at least playoff driver-wise, Casey Kerwin back at the front of the field, really commanding it right on the top side. We've seen him run down on the bottom, but it seems like throughout this race he's been able to control that outside line as Graham Boland goes by on the inside, but a safe, an effective pit cycle for the 95.
Yeah, and you see the lap that they stopped on, a big variety, 34, 35, 37, so not one group having a big advantage. This is kind of just a quagmire here, about 10th on back, 3 wide, nothing you want to be a part of. Let's take a look at this replay. Exactly what happened on the bottom. This is through the tri-oval right here. A big save by the 45. The tri-oval, people don't believe this, the most dangerous place at Talladega is the tri-oval. It's the turn with very little vertical loading. You actually have more grip right here in the corner because the banking kind of squishes the car in. You have more tire load. When you get to the tri-oval, not only is it flat and you're turning, the bottom lane is actually kind of a different banking, if you will. That bottom lane is very slippery. It's a little slick if you get the right rear on that dotted line. So great save by the 45.
And we can't
Certainly
remind
so.
people enough, the race does not end in the Tri-Oval, not at Talladega, so you have to race and survive through the Tri-Oval, unlike Daytona where the race ends. That finish line here at Talladega is about another 1,000 feet, Blake.
And I'll get that mentioned in here with about 30 laps to go. And to pick up on Steve's point, if you drive the 1987 cars at 220 miles an hour through this Tri-Oval, I think you'll know that is the harshest place to drive here at Talladega Superspeedway. Back up front through this cycle of pit stops, 30 laps to go. Everyone should be able to be good on fuel. It is Malik Ray, who has never won in his eNASCAR career, and Ray Alfalla, who has won 4 series championships side by side, duking it out for the race lead. Alfalla trying to get some drafting help from Femi Olot.
30 to go, the pit stop behind them. Now the drivers are trying to figure out, are they going to try to get position? As you see Femi right there kind of pull up to the middle with a big push from the 42 there. Derek Bordeaux.
Steve, Femi won the season opener at Daytona, and I think of some think of these races as crapshoots. You work with the best to ever do it at Dale Earnhardt Jr. This is a skill for some drivers that some just don't have. Some excel at this. Why?
Well, I believe that, whether you finish or don't finish at times can be a little bit of a crapshoot, but as far as, oh my goodness, I thought that was going to be the wreck right there. Some drivers just understand it. They study it better. They like it. I know this sounds silly, but having the mental approach of this is my opportunity, this is going to be a great day, goes a long ways when it comes to the draft. And once you show a little success, it breeds success because everybody knows you're the car you want to hitch your wagon to.
And well, Steve, I'll ask you, because I know you worked with a number of drivers. Was it easier? How much did you have to pump up certain drivers that you worked with in your career for this style of racing? Because obviously, I think if the driver is on board with it and they love it, it's relatively easy. But if you had one that wasn't a huge fan of this type of racing, how were you able to kind of pump them up to be able to do it?
I was spoiled in my career with Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. They both looked at super speedways as a huge opportunity for them. They both were excited to go down here. We were able to win a couple times here with Jeff Gordon, one in the old car, one in the generation after that in the same year in 07. I was always disappointed that I couldn't get Dale a win here. We had some really good cars, but it just seems like we could never quite get there. As the 79's in the fence, will he keep it straight? He does, as now they're stacked 4 wide entering the backstretch.
Michael Guest got shoved a little bit up the racetrack right there. He was able to collect it, and I think this is where you really get to see these moves and how talented these drivers are. I make a point to say that these are the best sim racers in the world, and it's because of moves like that if you're running in just about any race on the iRacing service and you see somebody get that out of shape or get in the wall, there's a wreck coming. There's a yellow that's happening, and the whole field's flying apart. With this field and this talent, they have a way of avoiding a lot of those types of accidents.
And I think this is where we see the mental toughness out of these drivers. You just saw what happened to Femi. Hit the wall, went backwards. You saw how quickly it could happen. Here's the replay here about where he was and how quickly the incident can happen and send him back through the field. Drifts up just a little bit, gets a piece of the 9. Hits the wall there, goes backwards. But when I think about mental strength, you have to put yourself right back into the situation and know you could be right back at the front in the same amount of time.
26 laps to go here at Talladega as they hit the 33 degrees of banking in turns number 3 and 4. One thing I can see, and I think everybody can see visually, Steve, is a lot more red spoilers at the front of the field. We saw them kind of waiting around, biding their time. You see Steven Wilson trying to take the lead, but I think they're trying to tell us it's go time right now. They're not going to wait around as long as they have been.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we talked about it. I think some aggression is going to be required. I don't believe you're going to be able to just sit back and hope the points come to you at some point. You're going to have to go get them. There's some other cars, too, I think worth discussing that someone like Liam Brotherton has yet to lead a lap this year. Oh, as we have a car spin to the left, it looked like the 17 perhaps. There it is. It is the 17 of Caden Honeycutt gets turned around.
A one-car wreck at Talladega. How about that?
Well, I think we're still under green. I haven't seen anything that says we're under yellow yet. A one-car incident doesn't bring out the yellow flag.
All the way on the apron, it was off the bumper of the number 40 of Dylan Alt, but we stay green as Honeycutt spun out of the racing groove here. And, of course, in iRacing, a little bit different. You don't have to worry about safety concerns. So if it's off the track as a sim racer, I'm all about it, as we will get a good look here at what happened. Honeycutt was in the lead when this happened.
Yeah, and it looked like the 40 was giving it a good push, went to the right, and it looked like they kind of got broken up cleanly, but then I don't know if they got contact from door to door, but it ended up sending the 17 around.
And Honeycutt, I think you could see right there, was hoping to try and get a yellow right there, not able to do it, as Derek Bordeaux will back up to Nick Ottinger. Back at the front of the field, Steven Wilson all by his lonesome. I can't imagine that is going to work out well for him, but the Coca-Cola Zero Sugar Chevrolet ahead right now. This is what that looked like. It looks like he was able to just get to the right rear. Got Honeycutt a little bit loose there. They are moving him around perhaps a little bit.
I agree. I think as the push moved to the right rear, it ended up getting Honeycutt loose. The 40 of Alt, though, led a couple laps. First laps led in this eNASCAR season for the 40 cars, so it's good. Even though it hasn't been the best of seasons for the 40, got some laps led, and now he's wishing he was anywhere but 4 wide on the top, as it's going to be about 25 positions in one set of corners.
4 wide here, not working out for Dylan Auld, as he'll lose another set of positions with that move, and up to the front of the field goes Jimmy Mullis right now in control of the field at Talladega. This is that part of the race where it's going to be hard to keep up with these lead changes, these lane changes. It's Jimmy Mullis right now, and Malik Ray also poking that nose out right now. He's trying to take a part of the lead.
Great shot here as we see all 3 lanes, that teal of Graham Boland moving up into the middle. We're seeing the outside lane, and it seems like the way to the front, but then it seems like the cars get so loose. Steve, I know there's 2 ways of setting the car up, speed or stability, and you got to have a little bit of both, I suppose, to win, but the fastest cars are also a little loose out there.
Yeah, I think, it's like we talked about the runs with this aero package. Your acceleration can go up very, very quick. So, what do you do with the runs? Can you block those runs? And it always seems to get tight when you catch traffic. I say that because as we exit this corner, you're going to see this single car coming into frame. As they lap that car, this 3 wide right here is going to become really, really tight.
Graham Boland a little upset right there, as you can see them wiggle and how much these lanes move. This is Corey Vincent, who overshot his stall, fell back. He's going to get lapped in the field. We've seen this happen at Talladega this year in the NASCAR Cup Series, that this situation kind of caused an incident as the field reacts to the lap car. It looks like right now, so far so good, as Corey Vincent trying his best to get out of the way. Oh, almost contact right there with Colin Keister.
A nice job by Corey Vincent, though, to run as tidy as possible on that yellow line. Shows a lot of respect for the field, even though the day hasn't gone right for him with that mistake on pit road. I'm not trying to force something that he just knows won't work. This is a great shot to just show you how quick the runs come, how quickly you can gain and lose positions. There'll be 10, 20, 30 points swapped in the last half mile of this race.
I think this is more akin to a view that the spotter would have. Of course, we're kind of flying around, but a top shot. These spotters, even in the virtual world, will work as hard as ever at a racetrack right now at Talladega. Liam Brotherton, another rookie in the series, right now leading at the front of the field. He also announced that this will be his final season in eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competition, and the entire line bails on him. 5 cars all said, Liam, you ain't going to be leading no more, and Brotherton will fall like a rock, and Casey Kerwin will take over the top spot.
I must say we're seeing a lot of give and take, a lot of incidents that could be worse if it's not for lifting your foot off that accelerator. The goal here is to finish, but some of these aggressive moves are going to get some payback here as the laps wind down. We've got, 20 to go, 19 to go right now. People aren't going to be as quick to let off as these laps tick down. They're being very patient at the moment.
Patient or lucky? I'm not sure which. They give it a little bit of both.
I just don't see how this can keep up for much longer. The temperature's picking up. We have 19 laps to go. I just don't see how many more almost wrecks that we can sustain before a lot of cars are going to be piled up here. We'll see right here as Nick Ottinger will work his way into the tri-oval, and a caution is out. There it is, the wreck that happens. Femi Olot is involved. Liam Brotherton gets involved. Dylan Duvall, hard impact with the outside retaining wall. And just before things we thought were going to settle out, a caution comes out, and Femi Olot looks to be at least one of the playoff drivers involved.
And you see Ottinger right here in the 25 car rolling away. It doesn't look like a lot of damage on the 25 for Nick Ottinger. You mentioned Femi Olot. I saw him spinning. Definitely wall contact on the 79. We'll have to come back and see exactly how much damage he does have.
We'll see it one more time here. You can see Nick Ottinger rolling along. He was well clear of the accident, but I believe it was around the Liam Brotherton machine. We're going to circle and highlight Femi Olot right there, that 79 car with the red numerals on the top indicating his playoff status. You could see kind of what I would term as kind of two moves that both happened at the same time. Dylan Alt tried to go to the middle, and I think Liam Brotherton did as well right there at the same time. A look from onboard Brian Mercurio further on back.
Fortunate enough to get through. Now, I saw it exactly how you saw it, which is I think the 2 made a move and the move was clean, and I think the 40 was going to the middle at almost the same exact time. I don't think it was a defensive move out of the 40, but it was definitely mistimed. I think the 2 had kind of already taken over the middle lane, and Dylan Alt kind of ran up into him. It happens so quick. That can happen to you on the interstate, right? When you have that 3-lane interstate, the outside and the inside go for the middle lane at the same time. It's really that easy to do. So you can imagine trying to do it at the speeds that these guys are.
And the one who caught the worst of it, though, was playoff driver Femi Olot. It just feels like it's going to be somebody. It's almost lottery-like. You don't want it to be your turn when the card is pulled. Femi doing everything right there, right? Not long ago, leading this race, playoff driver. Finds the trouble, finds him essentially.
It results in an 8-car accident in our first caution of the evening here at Talladega. We will be right back for the conclusion right after this.
It's the wildest ride in racing. Talladega. Too fast since the day it opened. This 200-mile-per-hour, nose-to-tail, 5-wide parade demands absolute perfection. Anything less, you might find yourself right in the middle of the big one. NASCAR playoffs continue at Talladega on NBC.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, and by ASUS, the official PC and monitor of eNASCAR, and by Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G,
the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Back with you here at 15 laps to go at the Talladega Superspeedway. Femi Olot wrapped up in that one, Steve.
Yeah, Femi, it looked like a couple cars went to the middle lane, contact, collected you. First of all, what was your thought on the accident and how much damage do you have?
I haven't reacted to the accident and haven't seen it. I don't know what happened. I don't care what happened. So I guess that's my reaction. I've got a few minutes of damage. We need one more caution, so hopefully it happens here quick, and then we'll be good. I won't be fine for this restart, but I think one caution and try to find my way back to the front.
Well, Femi, I think one more caution is a real opportunity, so good luck in these next 16 laps getting repaired. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I kind of like his answer there, guys. I won't lie. I have no reaction. It's speedway racing. I'm not going to worry about it. I don't know what happened. I'll go back and look at the tape later, but right now he seemed very task at hand. He has a couple more minutes of damage to repair, so he needs another yellow, and as I mentioned, I think with 16 to go, who knows, he might be in the best shape of everybody because he won't be in the mix. If the caution comes again, he can come get his final repair, hopefully, and get back in the mix.
And that was something I was talking about with the mental strength. Things can happen so quickly here. You can go from the lead to 20th, but you can also go from 20th to the lead. You have to keep your mental strength right on top.
Definitely very strong as we are going to restart here with 15 laps to go. The only two playoff drivers right now in the top 10 are on your front row. Nick Ottinger in the Logitech Chevrolet on the bottom. The XF machine of Casey Kerwin on the top. Ottinger with a quicker start. Green flag in the air. 15 to go here at Talladega. And Ottinger won't waste any time. He'll go right to the top and block Casey Kerwin. Top line starting to form up. 5 or 6 cars are clear of further back in the field where there are 2 and 3 wide. Keegan Leahy out of the pack has to go all the way to the bottom, and now they will shift their focus to the bottom. Now Casey Kerwin up front trying to go for the race lead past Nick Ottinger, and he does it.
On the outside, Kerwin getting the push from the 7 we've seen all night. We see the cream rising back to the top with just 15 to go. This has been a Casey Kerwin show throughout the night in the 95. And look who's on the bottom, the winner of a lot of races this year. I think that's Steven Wilson down there on the bottom.
Now remember, Casey Kerwin comes into this race with a points deficit of about 8 points right now. He is far beneath that cut line as it sits right now. So actually there you see it right now. Of course, as it runs, he would be the race leader and he would win the race, but he has a significant points deficit, even more than 8 points coming into this race that he has to make up after that effort at Bristol. So Kerwin definitely thinking that this must be a must-win situation as they are 4 wide further back in the pack.
See the kind of the moves, right? It's how long can you stay in the lane? How much do you want to push? Do you think there's opportunity to switch lanes? We talk a lot about the playoffs, but there's also that relegation, right? There's a group of cars that need to find some points. Keegan Leahy, one of the biggest names right down here on the line that you just don't expect. So more than just the playoff opportunity, other cars are trying. As now you see Conti, a move to the bottom. That 8 car pulls up next to the 51. And that 51, one of those drivers we were talking about, 19th in points. Remember, the top 20 are invited back. Below 20th have to go, try it again, and fight their way up.
Well, again, at the top of the show, it was nearly a 20-point gap around that cut line. Now you can see it changes every second that we run in this race. Right now, Ray Alfala was more than 20 points out. He is now 2 points to the good, and what would be 2 races remaining after this one to try and keep his spot in the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. But Alan Bowes, somebody else who's trying to make up some points, is going to have something to say about that with Malik Gray and Casey Kerwin in tow.
That seems like a move we are going to see on the last lap. Push on the outside of going into the corner and make that dive down into the corner. That's how all these good passes are being made by the 55 there. We've seen it throughout the night. From the 7, from the 95, from the 51 of Ray Alfala. I think we see that move coming up on the last lap here with only 12 to go.
Wouldn't shock me at all. Oh, and a big crash in the back of the field. Nick Shelton. Mitchell DeYoung is involved, a playoff driver.
Oh.
So is Femi Olot, and Nick Shelton tumbling over here in the tri-oval. The iRacing Motorsports machine gets the worst end of it as they wreck further on back in the field. Derek Justice, Ryan Luza, a couple more involved in this wreck around the 15th position.
There's safety up front. Malik Ray looking really good and safe up front. As crazy as it seems, making those dives from the top lane to the bottom, going into the corner, there seems to be safety at the front of this field.
Certainly seems to be the case, as that was a multi-car accident that again was right around Femi Olot, who we were just talking about as having a significant amount of damage. He was still kind of fighting his way up into the top 25. Didn't seem to hurt him, but I'm sure this second go at it will not be as good for him. I think I'm hearing that it may have originated around Cody Bias, and I think Kyle Peddle is back where that stack-up happened. I think, Steve, you were talking about it earlier. When those stack-ups happen, it's usually further on back in the field that you really feel it, you really suffer for it.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen 2 or 3 rows in front of you. There's a little bit of a stack-up. Everybody checks up, and much like driving down the interstate, somebody finally doesn't either get checked up in time or doesn't see it coming in time. Let's take another look exactly what happens, right? We see right here the 14. Nicholas Shelton on the bottom, 3 wide. Stack up in his lane. That's exactly right. They all stack up. He checks up. The 54 behind them really does nothing wrong. The 54 just doesn't get checked up quite as quickly. Kyle Peddle, innocently enough makes contact. Look at this shot from Blake Reynolds on board.
Again, Reynolds involved in that first caution. He has to, he had to dodge a couple of cars right there. That's Corey Vincent. Of course, you can see Nick Shelton barrel rolling in the background. Shelton not been the return to the series that he quite hoped for. Took a couple of years off and came roaring back in, but it's just not been the season that he wanted. Currently sitting 37th in the series standings. Is certainly set to run in the eNASCAR Contender Series this fall when that cycles back around. But up front, you see the top 2 right there on your screen. Non-playoff contenders and Alan Bowes, and we talk about it time and time again. Alan, is this the time for Malik Ray, who has again been such an advocate for super speedway racing? Everyone on the service who knows him loves him, and if you want to race with him or learn more about this series and all that is going on in the eNASCAR world, whether it be this series, the eNASCAR College Series, and much more, you can scan the QR code on your screen, the bottom right-hand corner, and of course you can sign up for iRacing today if you want to find out more to start your journey towards the 2023 or even 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, whether you want to run in this series or run a Mazda Miata at Silverstone or a street stock at South Boston. We are set up for you to get going here at iRacing.com/eNASCAR. Of course, you can see it right there. Sign up at iRacing.com to start your sim racing journey today.
You had me convinced, Blake. I'm a Miata and a street stock guy. You didn't really talking my language, man. Them Miatas, don't sleep on those Miatas, man. They are fun to drive. And the street stocks, you set up a little street stock race at North Wilkesboro, you're going to have a heck of an afternoon. I can tell you, I've run quite a few of them. Don't let Tim Duggar in. Tim Duggar's your street stock master.
I tell you what, the world of in-laws could be a little bit of a group, can't they? And I know that the street stocks at North Wilkesboro can be really good. I've actually run some Mazdas at North Wilkesboro, and even that's been a relatively fun combination to have here on the service. A lot of creativity here in iRacing as we take a look back at the season opener all the way back in February, 7 months ago at Daytona. A long afternoon that was plagued by a number of cautions, 6 of them. Some big wrecks right there. This time it was Nick Shelton. That time it was Briar LaPrade. You can see a lot of drivers getting introduced to the next-gen car and seeing a lot of the spin-outs that have been pretty common in the NASCAR Cup Series this season. Teammates not getting along that kind of spelled the season for Logan Clampett, but at the end of it all, it was somebody who's seen a much better luck here in Daytona, Femi Olot, who ended up taking down the win.
Yeah, a lot of lead changes, a lot of cautions. We're not quite there yet tonight, but I was thinking about, again, the learning that came from this race. How much are you applying tonight? I know, different track, different circumstances, playoff time, the pressures are higher, but how much did you learn in Daytona that can help you tonight, that is helping tonight? We're seeing the cream rise.
You mentioned it. Femi Olot was victorious at Daytona, has not gone his way, was involved in an earlier accident, and I thought he had a chance to recover from that, but then now this accident here, I think, has eliminated his opportunity to race for a win this afternoon.
Certainly so. As you can see, the lights are back on the pace cars. We get a little bit of a delayed green here, so what was going to be an 8-lap dash to the end is now changed to a 7-lap dash for Alan Bowes and Malik Ray, who currently sit at the front of the field.
We hadn't seen much throughout the day from Mitchell DeYoung, one of our playoff drivers. Perhaps that was through strategy. Let's ride in the back, let's just get to the checkered flag, but no strategy seems safe. He was one of the drivers involved in that crash that we just saw, and that hurt. It's going to hurt his playoff chances. He's one of those drivers that was able to get the win on the road course, qualify for the playoffs. So some drivers have that ability, have that attitude, hey, we love this type of racing. Others just want to get to the checkered flag. It worked for a while. If it was strategy, staying back there for Mitchell, but found trouble back there as well.
He certainly did, and Mitchell DeYoung right now last on the cut line, and, well, I don't think this is going to help matters much as we're going to catch up here, Steve, with Liam Brotherton.
Yeah, let's bring in the driver in the number 2 for Elliott Sadler Esports. First of all, that's a good-looking shirt. I like the Dale Earnhardt shirt. That's a good throwback. Goes great with the hat. Liam, I know that even the shirt couldn't bring you any good luck today here at Talladega. A few laps off the pace, but it looks pretty intense out there. How crazy is it behind the wheel?
It's wild and awesome. Yeah, unfortunately, even Dale Jr. didn't win every race at Talladega. And I rode the back the whole start of the race. Said, all right, I'm going to the lead. Drove to the lead. 5 dead zone cars hung me out and went all the way to the bottom, and I fell backwards. And then me and my pseudo teammate and your guy Dylan Alt, we both decided we were going middle at the exact same moment. I guess our brain waves are synced, and unfortunately it caused an accident. Broke the toe link, and we're back here. But yeah, what a crazy race. It's fun.
Well, that's what it looked like. It looked like something as simple as 2 cars going in the middle at the same time, those split-second decisions. Explain how much you guys use the spotters here. How much are you using your mirrors? How much are you listening to the person who's trying to help you direct this traffic?
Yeah, it's a lot. We have the virtual mirror before the real guys did, and it's really helpful. Paints a really good picture, but I can't see way down the track in front of me. I can't see behind me. I can't see the momentum, and that's where Paul comes in. He's done a great job. Came on the scene to do this for me the first time this year. I kind of threw him at the Sharks at Daytona and said, just go for it. You'll do fine. And he's done a great job. So I definitely, it's a bit of both. I'm looking for myself about where I want to go. So right there, that middle call, that was just me. But Paul is painting that picture for me the whole time as well.
All right, man. Well, best of luck for the last few races of this season. Appreciate you talking to us. I think we're coming back green. We're going to give it back to my man calling the race here. Blake, 8 to go, 7 to go. We take the green over under. We see this thing run green to the finish.
Well, if under's the if under is no caution, over is a caution, I'm definitely taking the over here. I don't think we're done yet. We may be here for a while. Just my opinion. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, hey, the money, the pay window's about to open. It's only going to get worse from what we saw because there's so much on the line. You can get an automatic spot in the championship 4. You can get, save yourself from relegation with a good victory here. The pressure's on right now.
Certainly is. Alan Bowes on the bottom, Malik Ray on the top, neither with playoff hopes, but a couple of drivers amongst several at the front of the field that are looking to get their first eNASCAR victory tonight. Green flag is out, 7 laps to go from Talladega. Alan Bowes gets a good jump, but again, I don't know if that's what you want here at Talladega. As you can see, a bunch of cars starting to form up there on the top. Off of turn 2, tandem right now from Malik Ray. They're going to get hooked up and get a little more organization there on the top, and it looks like it's going to work for him. They are 4 wide back there with Kerwin.
Now's the time to get it. On a restart, 7 laps to go. Look at that dive to the bottom. Trying to block and also gain positions at the same time. Kerwin coming up.
Yeah, Michael Conti 3 wide through the middle in that 8 car. Oh, man,
trouble.
contact. Here comes a big one. This is going to collect a bunch of cars.
Alan Bowes spins into the outside wall. Nick Ottinger, playoff driver, is involved. Jimmy Mullis, Brian Mercurio, sadly for Steve, is involved with that one as well. And all things considered, I think could have been much bigger. Cody Bias also spun around in that as well. As caution is, I think we're going to see a string of them right now. Steven Wilson right now, heavy damage for Steven Wilson. That's going to be required repairs, I think, for that number 10 car.
And I don't know if it's the cautions breeding cautions, but when we have restarts, that's the time to get your position, right? That's the time to make up spots. And what we saw out of Conti there, making that bold move into the middle, saved him, right? Making that move and putting himself in position had him away from the big wreck there. So the bold moves have to happen now. We're running out of laps.
And it couldn't come at a worse time for many of our playoff contenders. We're going to see it right here is Dylan Alt in the middle of the field. Ottinger moves up into Jimmy Mullis. You see Peddle and Bowes both involved in that one. Bias spins down to the bottom. A couple of Wood brothers duck down to the pit lane. This is onboard Blade Witt. Let's see his perspective.
Does a nice job threading his way through.
So kind of walk us through that, Steve. I mean, kind of what do you see there as far as, you know, bringing that out and kind of who's responsible there?
Well, I mean, you know, it's speedway racing at its finest. I mean, the problem you have with speedway racing, or the challenge you have, is if the guy pulls out of line, you're mad that he didn't help you. If he stays in line, you're excited he's there. When the push is a little too much, now you're blaming that guy for wrecking you, right? And the line between all three could be a few inches or a few miles an hour difference between cars. That's the challenge of these races. And with this aero package, the runs are so big, the energy comes very quickly, and it can quickly upset a car. That's what's so impressive about the 7 of Malik Ray, who has been up front, it seems like, all day long. Even with people getting cycled out, he continues to find himself near the front of the pack.
Certainly does, as we will see how things cycle out. A number of drivers kind of getting back in position, trying to get their spots back. It is Malik Gray, Colin Keister, and somebody that we've kind of been mentioning off and on, Michael Conti. How about Caden Honeycutt running up here in the top 5? I mean, he was a part of that solo spin, didn't get a caution, and here he finds himself in a position to try and win this race. I mean, what a nod to him to be able to come back up and be fighting here at the end.
A little bit of luck, a little luck, a little skill. Remember, one car spin, right? That didn't get much damage, didn't collect other cars. I don't know if that part is skill, but getting back up to the top 2 rows here at the end of the race with 4 to go, that took some skill.
It certainly does, and unfortunately tough news earlier today for Caden Honeycutt. I was racing with him a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, he got the call this afternoon that his grandfather, Jim Honeycutt, had passed away. So, of course, everybody here at iRacing and in the sim racing community going to be thinking about that family, and they are in our thoughts and prayers. But Michael Conti right now sitting in the 3rd position. Let's get his thoughts from Steve real quick.
Mike, you've done a nice job avoiding the chaos. Just a handful of laps here. How are you going to play this restart? Does it take every single run like your boss would do? I can assure you that would be his move. Or is there some sort of strategy to get aligned with the right cars?
Yeah, Steve, we were actually just talking about that. We're going to go with the Dale strategy here and just take the momentum when we get it. I think we've seen how strong the top is on the restart. We're going to start in the bottom here. Hopefully we can get a clear top, get up in line, and then make a move. Coming to the white or 2 to go. I talked to you last year around this time. I was running 3rd. We didn't make it happen. There's a lot on the line here. A win would be awesome. And we've got a really good opportunity to get the WR1 car in victory lane. So going to do what I can. The runs are crazy. This racing is insane. Hopefully everybody's enjoyed watching it, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, it's been a great show, and now you're going to have to get it done because I don't want to be the jinx 2 years in a row.
Hey, let's hope not. Hey, listen, if I don't get it done, I'm just going to blame you, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That's what your boss would have done as well. So I'll take the blame for both of you. It'll be fine. No, it's great. It's funny, guys. We talk about it. Michael's given us some good insight there, but that really is the question, right? There are drivers that talk about strategizing their way there, but every time Dale Jr. was behind the wheel, and he's actually coached up young drivers in both the trucks, Xfinity Cup, that come to him. I've heard him give this advice, and it's take every run. It's great to think you're playing chess and you're going to strategize and find this magical run to make something happen. His advice has always been every run you get, you should take because you don't know when the next run's going to come. So we'll see if that strategy will work for the 8 there of Michael Conti.
And
as they ride around under caution here with 4 laps to go. Of course, a whole lot happening in the world of eNASCAR. Round number 2 of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series will be taking place here September 30th through October 13th. You can qualify for that if you're in college, and if you're on iRacing, there's no iRating cap or anything. Everybody who is involved in college and on the sim platform can be involved and try to race your way to some scholarship money. I mean, it is free money that you can run for being on iRacing. I don't think it gets much better than that. And of course, round 2 taking place at, I think, one of the best tracks on the service in Auto Club. This was, Alan, these were our picks a little bit earlier. I would say, I don't know how well any of us are faring. I think all 3 have been in accidents.
Yeah, and look, we all look smart for a few laps, right? I mean, there were times in this race where we all looked like geniuses, but yeah, we'll see how this one plays out. But Steven Wilson, not the best day for him, unfortunately.
Not so, as the pace car will dive to the safety of the pit lane. It will be 3 laps to go when we get the green flag. Right now, Michael Conti, your highest runner in the playoff standings. Malik Gray, Colin Keister, Conti, and Honeycutt, your top 4. Do we see a repeat winner, or do we see a first-time winner here at Talladega? We will find out. 3 laps to go. Green flag in the air, and great start from Malik Gray, who will throw the block up top on Colin Keister. Here comes Honeycutt up the middle.
And Michael Conti's going to get stuck in the middle by himself. 4 wide, no help.
4 wide off of turn number 2, and a great push right now to the back of Caitlin Honeycutt. Same with Michael Guest along with Malik Gray. 3
Look at that
and 4
8-car drop
wide
back.
all throughout the pack. Honeycutt down to the bottom. Michael Guest throws the block on Malik Ray. If they get to the stripe this time, it'll be 2 to go, and a wreck further back in the pack. Logan Clampett, Parker Retzlaff, and a number of others scattering here in the tri-oval.
Saw Michael Conti sneak through after losing all of that track position. 97 of Clampett trying to get going again.
That is a huge accident. You can see Clampett right there. He beached it. That diffuser on the ground, not able to move. He'll have to take the tow back to pit lane. And we will go to overtime once again here in this series. It has been a theme that we've seen all season long, that it's usually not enough to try to do it one time. And for what I believe will be the 7th time in 2022, we are going to need some extra laps to finish this one.
Conti had a plan, Steve. He had a plan. You know, it got hung up. You know, we do the show on NASCAR.com inside the race. Imagine his chart there. You know, where he was at the front of the field, going all the way back, and then he cut through the big one there to gain a bunch of track position. We can see what he can do with just a few laps to go. But heck of a day, and that's what happens at Talladega.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the challenge, right? When you take those runs, you are vulnerable to get split, and that's what happened to the 8. But let's take a look exactly what caused this wreck. We see the 51 dropping back, and it makes it 4 wide for a second, and he finally gets to a line of 4 wide. Still looks pretty calm, and the 97's backing up. The 51 goes up to give the 97 a push, and I think he just gets a little bit to the right rear. You see it's a little bit like we saw earlier. 2 cars trying to get to the middle at the same time, and the 51 was there.
We're going to see it one more time on board. Cody Bias, 2 of the Motorsports machines riding in line right there. And my goodness, did he get through that? He did. Wow. I don't know whether to attribute that to luck or skill, but I can tell you, Alan, when you're the driver, you don't really much care.
Yeah. Hey, for all we know, they're closing their eyes and just hitting the gas, right, and going through. But you got to think of the next restart and the next flag. No need to think about what just happened.
Exactly like you planned it. I think that's what a lot of these guys probably tell themselves after they get through an accident like that. So you see a good portion of the field, a number of playoff drivers wrapped up in that one. Nick Ottinger sitting on pit road. Matt Boos's car is moving at a very slow pace right now. So they will definitely be in almost what I think would probably be must-win territory, Steve, after this when we go out to Homestead.
Yeah, I mean, they can be thankful that that win and you advance opportunity is there. That means that no one is eliminated, to your point, right? If you can go to victory lane, you can work your way all the way to the championship race. But the opportunity for points being the pathway for some of these drivers will definitely be closed after today. And how about it? The cars we have left at the front of the field, going to be interesting to see how this goes, right? We have Michael Guest currently leading. Best finish on the season, third in Atlanta, another track that you think is a mile and a half, but races like a speedway. Malik Ray right behind him. Best finish of the year is fourth, Worldwide Technology, a new track we've seen on the circuit. The 17, as you mentioned, in the Honeycutt with an amazing recovery after a single car spin. Think of what a win would do for this young man. 20th at Dover, his career or his season best, and then Dylan Alt, the driver for the Letard Esports in that 40 car, coming off his best finish of the year, his 8th at Bristol. It'd be great to top that with a win at Talladega.
It certainly would, and I think when you talk about Talladega and the fact that it is an opportunity race for anybody that is involved right now, out of your top 6, there's only one winner previously in this series. That is Colin Keister, who has one career win in 5th. Derek Bordeaux, riding in 7th, has one career win. That came before his entry into 2022. He had won further back in the series history, left the series, and is back here in 2022. So no wins yet this season, but has a career tally in that win column in his eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series career. Looks like the lights will go off atop the pace car, and Alan, we are set for what could be one of a potential 3 green-white checkers.
Absolutely. Race to the top here. We've seen it a few times on these restarts. You want to get to the top as quickly as possible, and then we'll start seeing the dives down to the bottom. But these restarts have been opportunities for some and real detriments for others.
Certainly is, and Steve, we'll throw you to somebody you're probably pretty familiar with back in 19th, but certainly not out of this one, Brian Mercurio.
Yeah, Brian, I was hoping to wait and talk to you hopefully after a trip to Victory Lane, but I saw you get a little bit caught up, avoid most of the melee in that big wreck. How's the day been for the 36 Letard Esport entry?
It's been pretty rough, honestly. Kind of laying back for most of the race there. Didn't have the best pit stop there, slipped through my box a little bit. Kind of worked my way back up there, managed to catch the pack again, and been involved in the last 2 wrecks. So we started 30th on the last restart, and we're up in the high teens there once we got wrecked there. So I think I got a strategy if I want to work my way up to the front. It's just, man, I wish I had a clean car, or I just had one of these wrecks go my way.
No, I understand it. Well, we'll come into the green, so we'll let you get back at it. Good luck for the first of potentially 3 overtimes. So, you know, you just don't know. I mean, these guys, there's times I see them miraculous.
Right now we have 33 cars on the lead lap that have an opportunity to win here at Talladega. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, 3 attempts at a green-white checkered. If we get to the white flag, we don't have any safety concerns here in iRacing. So we will see it through to the end if we get there. If we don't get to the stripe, well, we will try it once again up to 3 attempts at overtime here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Michael Guest, Malik Ray, your top 2 as they approach the Geico restart zone. Both looking for their first career eNASCAR win. Green flag is out, 2 to go here at Talladega. And side by side into the corner, it looks like Michael Guest getting that bump from Malik Ray that he needs. Top few are forming up. Caden Honeycutt and Colin Keister falling back as they work off the banking of turn number 2. It is Guest, Ray, and Alt, your top 3. Don't forget about Colin Bowden back there in 4th. A 3-car tandem at the front of the field.
And this is what we've seen, a race to the top lane on the wall after the restart, and then all of a sudden we will start seeing the dive bombs to the bottom, trying to get that pass. With only, see the 40, what he's doing right there, trying to get that momentum and trying to make that bottom lane work, but no one goes with him. Colin Bowden goes on the back end of the 7-car, Malik Ray, the 40-car backward.
White flag in the air. They will see it through. This race will be official. 1 lap to go here at Talladega. Michael Guest, Malik Ray, Colin Bowden, your top 3, all looking for their first career win. Casey Kerwin looking for a spot at Phoenix. Off to turn 2 for the final time.
Pushing him down the backstretch. We've seen the 95 be the best pusher throughout this race. Now, can he push him far enough and get that little bubble and all be able to make a pass? The 95 has pushed the 69 car to the lead.
They are tandem up here in turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Bowden looking for his first win. Casey Kerwin and Bobby Zielinski looking for a shot at the championship. Bowden, you can see the focus on his face, trying to block Kerwin up the racetrack. Kerwin goes down to the bottom. They touch once, twice, 3 times, and at the line, I believe Bobby Zielinski wins it. Bobby Zielinski is headed to Phoenix, and you can see the reaction as he wins by 24 one-thousandths of a second.
What a finish. A name we didn't talk about throughout one time throughout the night. Did we mention Bobby Zielinski? I believe when we look back, he was about 10 on that restart. Green-white checkered finish. Bobby Zielinski from about the 5th row goes and gets the win and now has a 25% shot at a championship. What a race, Blake.
What a finish, as you can hardly believe what we just saw as 2 friends in Casey Kerwin and Colin Bowden collect each other as Kerwin, again, there's no yellow line rule here in this series. He goes there to try to make it and repeat what he did to Zach Novak. You could see right there, sideways across the line, Zielinski gets it.
Think about the difference. Again, this is Talladega, where the start-finish line is, about 1,000 feet past the dogleg. Going into the dogleg, it's one thing. It's the 95 trying to make a move on that 69 car, and Bobby Zielinski, right place, right time, sideways for the win across the line. What a victory for the 18 car.
And this winning moment for Bobby Zielinski has to be our Coca-Cola winning moment, as Bobby Zielinski, a playoff driver who we didn't mention once tonight, locks his way into the championship race at Phoenix, and he will be racing live at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina here in a couple of weeks when we wrap this thing up. What a move for Bobby Zielinski, who will once again be fighting for an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series championship.
What a story, right? Because he had the momentum, one of the few drivers not to have a victory in the playoff field, but was able to race his way into the playoff field, and then everything changes. It all kind of resets.
As you can see, Zielinski, I believe he either ran out of fuel or burned the engine up, as we are going to see our Coca-Cola move of the race. You can see right here at the white flag, Bobby Zielinski's all the way back in 5th. He has Colin Keister behind him, but you can see the run. Michael Guest, Malik Ray leading, and this is exactly how Casey Kerwin wanted it. As I talked to him just a little bit before this race, this was pretty much perfect timing. You want to get that tandem, you want to break out ahead, and then when do you make the move in the tri-oval? At least right now, it's going according to plan.
Absolutely, and again, he was the best pusher all night. We saw this throughout the night. The 95, Casey Kerwin was able to push cars to the lead. He had a fast, powerful car, but it's all about timing this final move. How much longer can you wait if you're the 95 car? It feels like it was a perfect move. Maybe a bit too early. How can I criticize Blake?
Well, it's hard to say because I know Kerwin, a lot of Casey Kerwin fans out there watching and in the chat, and they love them some Casey Kerwin. They're big fans, obviously a big streamer and has a great fan base. But remember what he did to Zach Novak at Pocono? He kind of gets a little bit of return of his own medicine right there as Steve Letarte has caught up with our winner, Bobby Zielinski.
Bobby, first of all, man, congratulations. Mr. Road Course has found his way to Super Speedway victory at the best time and advanced to the championship 4. First, congratulations, man. What a last lap.
Bobby.
All right, I think we got you now. Bobby, you got us now, man. Congratulations. What a great last lap. Congratulations.
I guess we played that race to perfection at the end of the day. Sitting at the back just waiting to go paid off in some weird convoluted way. I was really hyped to win in that fashion. I didn't know if I was gonna get a win this year, and so all my energy just dropped with that finish. But yeah.
We'll talk about that. This will be your 5th time to the Championship 4 in just 6 years of trying it. You're known so well on the road courses, but you found a way to win at the ovals. Now you found a way to win at the Super Speedway. What's it mean? As you mentioned, a long year, no wins on the books yet, but now you get that very valuable win, only one win, perhaps away from a championship.
Yeah, I keep making this damn Final Four. I need to win it one of these years. It'd be great to win it on the stage and at the Hall of Fame. It'd be perfect. But I'm trying to make it different this time. Interstate Batteries, Toyota. This thing's been fast all year, especially the recent 6 races or so. I've really been able to run up front and contend. But yeah, I'm gonna go in that Final Four race at Phoenix. I have to be the best. I gotta show up there and be the fastest car. And if I don't win, I don't win. But you gotta be the fastest guy on the day and have the best chance. Talladega, man, I'm glad to put this one next to my Daytona win. You can't count me out at these super speedways. I got a little lucky there at the end, but I positioned myself, and man, got a month till Phoenix, and we're gonna start getting ready tomorrow.
All right, there you go, man. Congratulations, a big win for the driver of the 18, and now he's on to the Championship 4. We're right in the picture, right to the end. The E-Racer driver, the number 69. Colin, man, you look like you were in perfect position. That had to be an intense final run through the tri-oval.
Yeah, that finish right there, that'll drive you to drinking, man. I mean, I couldn't really ask to be in a better spot. I had Casey behind me. I had a good feeling he was going to go with me. And, I don't know what other position I thought I would rather be in. We had the E-Racer Blue Emu machine up there coming to the finish line at Talladega. If they just put the finish line in the middle of the tri-oval where every other racetrack is, I think we would have won it. But, man, 24 thousandths. Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, no, I understand. I thought you did everything right as well. Take me through that tri-oval. You knew the 95 was going to make a move, and it's just whether you're going to force some high or low to try to protect?
I had a feeling he was going to move, but we were not coming back. If he tried to pass me, which he did, we were not coming back to the finish line clean. We were going to do everything we could to get that win, and we just come up a little bit short. But nothing, a little bit of that Coca-Cola, Jack Daniels, that'll fix all of it here. But that'll ease the pain a little bit. But, man, I just hate to finish that. Got my Lucky Parker Kligerman shirt on there, tried to draft like he did, but just a bit short.
Man, that was good. That was a fun one to watch, man. I know it stings a little bit now, but it was a heck of a run. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Well, the playoff driver who I thought we were going to be talking to for going to victory lane ends up being the second finishing playoff driver, the number 95 of Casey Kerwin. Casey, it was an impressive lap and a great move. I thought you were in position A, pushing the 69 out there. Was that the plan the whole time? Shove him out and try to either go high or low and see if you could get clear?
Yeah, that was what I was hoping for. And we got lucky. It worked out well, and we had a good push, good connection the whole time. So we got far enough clear we could go for it. Because with the way the runs are, if we didn't have a gap back to Bobby, I wouldn't have even gone for it anyway. Probably just because the moment you pull out a line, you're just gonna get swarmed. But then again, when you make as much contact as we did, you still get swarmed. So it was, it's a bit unfortunate, but obviously, I came up, half a tenth short of a championship 4 spot. But, we all saw how physical I got for a win at Pocono. I can't complain about Bowden trying to get physical. Obviously, it sucks that Bobby ended up beating both of us. I think in hindsight, if I would have gone a little bit later, been a little bit more patient, got a little bit later, we could have been that physical and Bobby wouldn't have beat either of us. But it's so hard to sit there and be like, and wait, it's a tough call, but still a good race, especially after Pocono. I don't know how it all work out after the drop. I would think that we should be in the Final 4 on points right now with the drop, maybe, or close to it. So it was a good night. We needed a strong finish or a win. Obviously, I think we had a great position. We were in a great position to win, so it sucks a bit, but yeah, it was still a good night. Can't complain too much, and go on to Homestead and try and finish the deal and make the Final 4.
Well, it looked good all day today at Talladega, man. Congratulations on a good run. I agree. A good points day, even though it was maybe a little short of what you were looking for. I think it's going to set you in a good position heading into Miami, and hopefully you can either win or point your way into the championship race.
Yeah, for sure. It's see how it shakes out, but Homestead's always been a bit of a tricky track for me, but hopefully we can run well there. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, well, congratulations. Casey Kerwin, the third place finisher. Blake, an impressive top 3 that we just talked to right there. But Bobby, more importantly, does what everyone's trying to do. He has advanced his name in the brackets over to that championship 4.
I think his reaction said it all. As you could see, the relief, the joy, the jubilation for Bobby Zielinski as he will once again, for the 5th time in his eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series career, fight for a championship. He is the only one of 10 that is locked into that next round, and this is where that next round will conclude, Al. In Homestead Miami Speedway, it's settled a number of championships in NASCAR before, and I think a very fitting venue to close this out and see who our championship 4 are going to be.
One of the best racetracks for competition, one of the best racetracks to determine a playoff and a potential champion. Homestead will deliver.
It certainly will. Again, that is October 11th. In just a couple of weeks' time, Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m., we'll get you set for Countdown to Green, and 9 p.m. Eastern, we will roll with the green flag. And so on behalf of our entire broadcast crew behind the scenes that do such a terrific job, for James Pike down covering all of the stories on Pit Road, and for my partners in the broadcast booth, Alan Cabana and Steve Letarte, my name is Blake McCandless. Thank you so much for watching our live flag-to-flag coverage of the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We bid you farewell from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway, and a congratulations to tonight's winner in Bobby Zielinski, who will fight for $100,000 in Phoenix.